Hello, everyone. Yay, math. All right. So, going through the vocabulary. These are just some practice ones you can look at. Look at your vocab sheet that you filled out the notes for already. Um, these are just some flashcards for you to practice with. I suggest you write down your answer. So I'll say pause the video, take about 5-10 seconds, write down your answer just on a scrap sheet of paper, and then hit play again on the video. That's my suggestion. And then I will flip the card over and show you the answer. What kind of angles are angle 1 and angle 2, and what is special about them? So go ahead and pause the video. What kind of angles are they, and what's special about them? Okay, the answer. They are complementary because they add up to 90 degrees. They're also adjacent since they're next to each other. So if you look at this, angle 1 is right here, angle 2 is right here. That's the mark that shows us it's 90 degrees. Angle 1 plus angle 2's got to add up to 90. Since they're next to each other and they share that wall, they are adjacent. On this one, what kind of angles are angle 1 and angle 2? What's special about them? Go ahead and pause the video. Angle 1 and angle 2 are next to each other, so they are adjacent. They're also forming a line. Now, how many degrees are in a line? Well, there's 180 degrees in a line. So if I start here and turn all this way, it'd be like turning halfway around. So there's 180 degrees in a line. So that means these are supplementary, since angle 1 and angle 2 add to 180. Since they're forming a line, they're a linear pair, supplementary, and adjacent. Linear pair. That means they got to add to 180. They're also supplementary and adjacent, since they're right next to each other. What kind of angles are these? These are actually the same thing as this. Just kind of turned, isn't it? Same sort of idea. These are next to each other, so they're adjacent. They form a line, this line right here, so they are a linear pair. And since there's 180 degrees in the line, these are supplementary. So it's a linear pair. They're also adjacent, and they are supplementary. How about these two right here? What kind of angles are they, and what is XB? These angles are right next to each other, angle 1 and angle 2, so they have to be adjacent. And since they're both 40 degrees, that means it would be an angle bisector. They're adjacent since they're next to each other, and since angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 and they're right next to each other, XB is an angle bisector. Here you go. What kind of angles are angle 1 and angle 2? What's special about them? Go ahead and pause the video. Okay. These angles are not forming a line. They're not next to each other forming a line. They're across from each other. And they're going to be equal. These are vertical angles. These are vertical angles. They're right across from each other. They're forming like an X, okay? And they're going to be equal. Also known as they're congruent. You say angles are congruent, numbers are equal. But in your mind, you might just say they're equal. How about these two angles right here? Well, 100 degrees and 80 degrees, if you add those together, that's going to be 180 degrees. So these angles are supplementary angles. They add up to 180. Note that they do not have to be next to each other to be supplementary. All right, and here's one that's going to make you think a little more. What kind of angles are angle 1 and angle 2? They are across from each other, straight up and down. They are vertical angles. Okay, they are vertical angles. But since this is 90 and this is 90, what does that mean? Well, what's 90 plus 90? That's 180. So that means they're also supplementary. They're vertical. They're also, and since they're both 90, 90 plus 90 is 180, so they are also supplementary. Okay, last one here. This one's probably the toughest of them. What kind of angles are angle 1 and angle 2, and what is special about ray ZB? Angle 1 and angle 2, they're right next to each other, so that means they're going to be adjacent. Also, you'll notice that 45 and 45, those are equal. Since they're next to each other and equal, that means ZB is an angle bisector. It's cutting it in half. And 45 plus 45, if you add those together, you're going to get 90, which means angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary. So they're complementary since they add up to 90. Since they're right next to each other, they are adjacent. And since they're equal and next to each other, that means ZB is an angle bisector. So there you go. There's some practice for you. Remember, complementary angles add up to 90. Supplementary angles add up to 180. Vertical angles are across from each other. They're always going to be equal. Linear pairs are next to each other. They're going to form a line and add up to 180. And if the two angles right next to each other are equal, that means the line or segment or ray separating them is an angle bisector. All right, thanks for watching.